Yeah. Because when I first brought this up, like I came up with like 3 or 4 like right away, but then I couldn't think of any more. And I was like, maybe this will be tough to do. But then when I sat today and like really went through my list, I was like, oh yeah, that one. Oh yeah, that one. There's a lot of good ones. Because I was kind of worried it was going to be like a very like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like all vampires from that. But then like I thought of a bunch more fun ones, so I'm excited.
Okay. Now I'm excited. I've seen a lot of vampire movies.
I have too.
Have you seen the new one? The newer one? Have you? I watched that Day Shift.
No, I want to. Is it good?
It's not bad. It feels very. What's the best way to describe that movie? It doesn't. It feels kind of cool. It's a bit ambiguous as to whether or not people know that there are vampires or not. I think the impression I get is that people don't know that vampires exist, but there's this whole kind of like subculture of people like hunting vampires.
Interesting. There's a new one with the old guy, not the new Punisher, but the guy who played Punisher before, Thomas Jane. And it's called Slayers, and it looks pretty cool.
But the Day Shift one's kind of cool because it kind of like describes the different vampire, like it describes different types of vampires.
Oh, cool! I love that.
Like they're like subspecies of vampires.
Yeah, I've got that as it'll be one of our future Halloween episodes is going over vampire lore. So I'd be interested for you to pull that in because the book the RPG Vampire or the TRPG, it's got that where like there's all these different like subcultures and like groups of vampires and like it's just I always think that's really cool to have like.
Oh, you mean Vampire the Masquerade?
Yeah.
Did you ever play Vampire the Masquerade?
We just played once that I remember.
Okay.
I think there might have been a second night, but I wasn't there for the second one.
I really got into that when I was like, probably like 13, 14. Like I really got into playing that game.
You went to a party, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. It was cool. It was a good time.
Yeah. I think we talked about like you were like, it wasn't for me. I was worried you're going to be like, I saw somebody get their throat slit and people drinking blood.
That's exactly what happened.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
Oh, we should talk about that at the Vampire Lore episode. They still haven't found the body.
I was the last one to leave, so I was stuck with body detail.
Oh.
I know, right?
And it was 3-hour blood, and it turned.
I looked up, and everybody had their finger on their nose, and I was like, man.
No, they had their finger on their fang. Get it? Because you're vampires.
I'm starting this right now before you do any more of this.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the nerdiest competition ever created by the Language of Bromance team. In this corner, obsessed with Star Wars and anything with swords, Richard! And in this corner, obsessed with the Ninja Turtles and scared of anything from the ocean, Shawn! In association with the LOB Army. Tonight's competition is a Language of Bromance draft.
What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And today, we're speaking the language of vampires.
Yes.
Not the language of bromance. This is the language of vampires.
A language of vampmance because, Richard, it's Halloween season. It's October. and we're on an episode that ends in a draft number. So we are going to do a spooky draft, and I thought it'd be fun. We're kind of going to go with like a vampire theme this month. So we got this one. We're going to do a vampire lore episode later.
Ooh, I love it.
I'm so excited. And Richard, what we're doing here for the 68th time is going to be our vampire character draft. So if you don't know, and you should, what our drafts are, they're seven round NFL style drafts where we flip flop picks back and forth. So whoever has the first pick of the first round gets the first pick in the second round. And back in the day, we flipped a penny, not a silver, a penny, because vampires don't like silver. And I won. So odd drafts, I get the first pick. Even drafts, Richard gets the first pick. It's an even draft, so Richard gets the honors of selecting the first vampire character in our draft.
So I guess the question I have before we start this is, are these is this a vampire team that I'm putting together to fight your vampire team, or is this a list of like what I think are badass vampires that I would not want to be in a darkened alley with?
I mean, I wasn't really thinking like a versus type thing for this. Maybe more of like, this is the group you would want, like your nest, your vampire nest.
Okay.
So maybe that's kind of what I'm
That's
going
what
for.
I thought. So that's kind of how I skewed this. So Shawn, for my very first pick, ooh, what's gonna be number one?
It's tough. I feel like we have drafts where we steal like one or two picks. Like I feel like this is going to be a draft full of steals.
I think you're probably right. Okay, so for my first pick, I'm gonna go with a vampire that, you know what? I know which one I'm going with. I'm gonna go with, you know what? He's not everybody's first choice, but he's my first choice because I think he's a bit of a wild card vampire, but I think that he would be very good if you manage to keep him kind of like under your thumb. You keep him in place. I think he's a good soldier, and I think that he would maintain order among his crew. Shawn, for my first round pick, I am gonna go with not Michael. With
oh yeah. Oh nope, you said Michael. That's yours.
No, Kiefer Sutherland.
David.
from the Lost Boys.
David.
That's my first pick. Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, David.
Can't remember the character's name right now off the top of my head. David, thank you.
Yeah, that was my first pick. Oh, so Richard,
Was it?
Yeah, it was gonna be my first pick. Like when I think like, and that's I don't know. I watched it maybe 10 years ago, and that's probably a movie like The Crow I need to watch like every Halloween season.
Ooh,
because I think I think it would hold up. Like in terms,
it does.
Okay.
When was the last time I saw it? I saw it probably maybe a couple years ago. Was probably the last time I watched it.
You'll never grow old. You'll never die.
Yeah,
but you must feed. Ugh. Kiefer Sutherland's such a great actor too. And then
you find out it's not until like the last 3 minutes of the movie that you find out that he's just the second fiddle.
Yeah. The dude that's trying to bang his mom.
Spoilers, but I mean, it's the Lost Boys. Come on. Came
out in like 88, 87. It introduced the lore that if you invite a vampire in your house, not only do they have to be invited, but they lose all their powers. Like all their like they can eat garlic and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. So he's got leadership experience. You know, he was running around with a crew of like 3 or 4.
Yeah, had great hair.
I feel like if I have a team, I feel like he'd be around. I feel like he'd keep them in line.
You know, and in that movie too, they did a great job to kind of show like the stalking of vampires. Like, you know, it's something that I think gets kind of like glossed over. Like it's more like they seem more like hyenas in that instance where they're kind of like out stalking their prey. Because a lot of times, like whenever you see vampires, like, you know, like I'm thinking of like Interview with a Vampire, there's a little less stalking and more kind of like, you know, sexual kind of like entrancing.
It's very like, you know, like I'm going to, you know, sweep into your bedroom while you lay comfortably in your bed, and I'm gonna, come in through the window and we'll make mad passionate love while I bite your neck.
Yeah, and then this was more like, we're gonna cut you off from the herd, and we're gonna just take you out.
We're gonna wait until you're alone and then rip your head off.
Yeah, and it's like the epitome of like a love triangle. Like, it's a little bit of a love story and like a love triangle, because David, like, obviously is in love with Star, and he's very jealous of Michael because Michael's got that like permed hair. Yeah, you got Corey Feldman and the other Corey.
You know who I bet would have been a great vampire in that movie? The guy at the very beginning the guy playing the saxophone with no shirt.
Yeah, God, that dude's still in shape, I think.
I think that like if people like whenever my kids are like, Dad, what were the 80s like? I'm like, that right there. That's exactly what they were like. See that guy playing a saxophone with his hair all like pulled back in a ponytail, and he's playing a saxophone, and all he's wearing is jeans, and I think there were chains on him at some point.
He was oiled up. There was like garbage cans on fire.
It was slicked up with extra virgin, like he was ready to go into an oven. That's what the 80s were like. That sums up the entire decade in one person.
But he's like, Dad, he's all oiled up and he's holding that saxophone without a strap and he's not dropping it. It's like, yeah, I know.
If he was a vampire, Shawn, that guy would have been my 7th round pick.
So they came out with a comic series that was kind of an extension of like post the end of that movie. And he was actually like a vampire hunter in that comic series.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I kind of like, I don't remember who did the comic, but if they took it that direction where it was more of like their grandpa was kind of like a semi-retired vampire hunter, and if they kind of continued down that path, it'd be kind of cool. In my opinion.
Did you watch any of the other movies?
Bits and pieces. I could never really get into them. Okay,
I was just curious. I watched them. They weren't fantastic, but they were better than I thought they were going to be going in. Agree. But that's not saying much.
In one of them,
they were direct to video.
In one of them, the main actor was actually from our hometown.
Yes, that's true.
And he actually played Stifler's younger brother in another movie.
Yes, he did.
I don't know what he's doing now. Hopefully he's not a vampire.
That's a good point. I don't know. I actually don't know that either.
No, you're a little bit. I was going to say, I don't know if you went to high school with him, but you're a few years older.
I did. He was a year older than me.
Oh, really? I thought he would have been younger.
Yeah.
Interesting. We should get him on the podcast.
Maybe.
Although he shows up, he's like, I'm a vampire now. Like, oh, damn it.
What's that like?
This is February. We need you for October. Our vampire lore was last Halloween. All right. My first round pick, Richard, I hope she was on your list. Because anytime we talk about her, like, I can tell you get flushed. And I'm pretty sure this is the reason you have a foot thing.
Oh my God, that's exactly where I was going next.
Yep, Richard.
Wow.
Dusk Till Dawn. I am confident that she is a vampire in real life because she does not look like she's aged a day.
Nope, not at all. Agreed. 100%.
Yeah, Selma Hayek from Dusk Till Dawn, Santanico Pandemonium.
So good.
Richard.
So good.
I'm scared of snakes, but I'm all in on that.
Nope, 100%.
Selma Hayek,
I am not. I am so not let me suck on your toes. That's so not me.
Oh, me either. Yeah.
But you watch that scene and you're like, oh, that's I like why do I like this?
Yeah, I would definitely switch places with Quentin Tarantino right now.
100%.
And was it beer that she did that with, or was it?
Yes.
Okay. When you'd taste it, I bet it tasted like mead. Like it was a sweet,
it tasted like fucking ambrosia from the gods themselves.
Yeah. You're like, I don't even like Bud Light. It came
down from Mount Olympus is what happened.
You're like, I hate Bud Light. And she sticks you like, oh, your toes. Like, oh, wait. Oh, my gosh. It tastes like mead.
This is amazing.
Another round, please.
Oh.
And I'm not the kind of guy that oogles and ogles over women and stuff. But Selma Hayek is Like she still posts pictures like her at the beaches and stuff, and she is still like fit and she is still very attractive.
She looks amazing. She is amazing.
She's been in a couple movies recently where she kind of is more of a comic.
She was in the Eternals.
Role. Oh yeah, that's right. She was. I've only got like halfway through that movie.
Yeah, it's not. It's not a.
Yeah,
it's rough.
Tough. I think they announced a sequel for that too. Yeah,
man.
Yeah, is what it is. But Dusk Till Dawn, she comes out, and this is before like Dusk Till Dawn to me too is like one of the best. Like it's probably Lost Boys, and then Dusk Till Dawn because Dusk Till Dawn, like it starts out, it's not a vampire movie. Like if you know somebody that doesn't know what Dusk Till Dawn is, you're like, hey, let's watch this movie. They're not going to know it's a vampire movie until it flips on a dime and becomes a vampire movie.
That's true. Yeah, that's the other thing is like Selma Hayek, like when she goes to like full vampire form, like it's all like big fangy, bat like face and stuff like that. I'd still let her bite me.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like
as long as we can do more foot stuff.
Maybe that's the draft here is like, which of these would you want to turn you to be your sire? And Selma Hayek, Santinko, Pandemonium, totally.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, Richard, my second round pick, Snake Holden, Santiniko, Pandemonium.
All right. Second round pick for me. And this is one you're probably not familiar with, but it's based off of, this is Dracula's son, Shawn. I'm going to go with the vampire known as Alucard, which is Dracula spelled backwards.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. So what's this?
So there's a game. It's one of my easily in my top 5 favorite games. I played that game through that game probably like 3-4 times. Game was called Castlevania Symphony of the Night, where you play as Dracula's son, Alucard. And it was cool. A very like Metroidvania type game where you had the big castle and you basically just kind of like wandered around the castle and you would get abilities that would give you access to other parts of the castle, but you wouldn't know, like you get something in one part and then you'd have to remember, be like, oh yeah, now I have this and I can go back to that thing and I should be able to jump up there now. So you basically like kind of like explored the castle on your own, but the whole time you were playing Dracula's son, and he had this very like anime, like chiseled from the gods kind of face, But then when Netflix put out the Castlevania cartoon, Alucard was in there. Fantastic.
Nice. So it's like he like anti-Dracula, or like how was he made?
Yes,
too?
he was anti-Dracula. He was not a fan of his father.
So was he conceived, or did his father sire him? Or?
His mother was human, and his father obviously was Dracula, so he was a vampire. He had a sword in the cartoon. He had his sword basically like he controlled the sword with his mind. So he just kind of like stood there with his arms folded, and the sword would zip around and cut things up.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I'm a little like, I don't like my vampires to have like supernatural abilities, like super crazy supernatural abilities. Like
really
shifting. Yeah, I don't know why. I think it's probably because my exposure to vampires is mostly like Lost Boys, Buffy, stuff like that. So they're a little bit more like, they're stronger, faster, and they turn into like what we see as vampires, but like they don't turn into bats. They don't, have mind reading abilities or mind control abilities and stuff like that.
The ones in Lost Boys flew.
True. That is true. And I'm okay with a little flying. Like that's okay.
Okay. I was just curious. But yeah, that's number 2 for me. Number 2 is Alucard.
I like that. Well, wasn't on my list, obviously, because I haven't played those games or watched that show yet. But my second round pick, this was a vampire movie that I saw kind of accidentally. So I was in high school, and my girlfriend's mom at the time was like, hey, we're going to go don't know if it was St. Louis or up north or where it was, but like they had some friends somewhere, and it's like, we're gonna go up here, see our friends, and we're just gonna go see like 2 or 3 movies in a day. She's like, I just kind of like to do that. Like we go watch some movies. First movie we watched, House of the Dead? It was the movie based on the video game. That was a cool video game. I think it was House of the Dead.
House of the Dead.
Movie was horrible. There's like a 15-minute slow.
No, yeah,
scene.
it's not good. It's not good.
So I see that movie and we're like, oh, do we really want to see the other movie? Because it's kind of supernatural too. But it's like, well, I mean, we're already here. Let's go watch it. Richard, we went and saw Underworld.
Ooh.
And my second round pick is the lead character in that series, and that is Selena.
Selena Kate Beckinsale in Underworld.
Loved it. So it was like, I mean, obviously there's tons of like leather outfits, which is a plus, but
Yep.
First time I was really exposed,
shooty.
Yeah, first time I was really exposed to the whole like werewolf versus vampire concept. I know it's like in a bunch of other stuff, but it was just the first time where it was like, hey, you like peanut butter. Hey, you like chocolate. Guess what? They're going to fight to the death. You're like, I love this. Love like the dark or the blue eyes in that. Like it just like there's a lot of cool stuff from that. And I think Selena, you know, it's kind of like this. And I guess let me back up a little even more. So like it really built on the whole like concept of this like, I mean, it's the name of the movie, but the underworld of vampires. Like there's different, you know, leaders, and they have to like put them underneath the ground and kind of like basically put them in hibernation, so there's not like a civil war type of thing. And every X
fighting
number of
against
years,
the Lycans, which are werewolves,
and they're fighting against the Lycan, which the Lycan discover that they can make sun bullets, and they're like, "What the fuck is this?" And that's actually one where a lot of the sequels aren't that bad either, because she falls in love with a guy who's supposed to be like half and half, and he becomes half and half, and he's badass too. But great movie, great series, I think. Not great series, but good series. And one of the top vampires on my list is Selena.
That's a good pick. I think that was on my list, but it was a bit further down. For my next pick, this one I don't know if you have this one or not. This is an incarnation. It's been in 2 films. However, I'm going strictly with one because I'm not huge on the other one. Shawn, for my next pick, I am going to go with what I always quintessentially thought a vampire would be like in the event it existed in the modern world. Shawn, I'm going to go with the vampire Lestat. However, I'm going to stipulate that this is Lestat from Queen of the Damned rather than Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah, a great movie. Lestat was on my list.
Shawn, he's a vampire, but he's also the lead singer in a metal band.
Yeah, well, it's more like a goth, like it's more like a hard rock band. It's not really metal. And Richard, did you have that album?
Yes, I did.
Oh my god,
I had the album. I had the movie.
Yeah,
so good.
So yeah, like if you go and listen to like that's like I think they call it dad rock now, but like all the guys
the special features on the DVD made music video had all the music videos for the songs in the movie.
Oh, cool.
Fantastic.
Chester Bennington from Linkin Park, he's on one of those songs. The guy from Deftones, the guy from Static X. The Static X. Oh my gosh, Richard, I forgot all about this. Like this was in like the prime of my like, oh my god, I love rock music. And I remember the Static X song because it was like one of the ones where like you saw parts of the movie in it.
Yes.
And it's the first time I saw somebody do the guitar flip where they have their strap and they throw the guitar around them.
Oh, okay.
Dun, 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 dun. We kiss, burr, 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 the stars. Oh, I'm going to have to listen to that tonight.
It's a good tune.
Oh, I love that song. I think that's the only like Static X song I really like too. Because I think that was one they actually wrote.
I loved Static X.
I've only heard a couple. Maybe I need to like. strike that from the record. Maybe I need to listen to it more.
Listen to Wisconsin Death Trip, and I guarantee you will like most of that album.
Because the other song that was their big one, like I didn't hate, but I never got their album or anything. But shoot, let me pull that up real quick. Because like Chester Bennington was on there. They had a Papa Roach song on there, but it wasn't. They didn't sing any of their other songs.
Oh, okay. I don't. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember. I remember. I don't remember all the people that were on the album. However, I know Jonathan Davis from Korn did all the music in the movie.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's his
Manson.
voice. Like when he's singing in the movie, it's Jonathan Davis's voice. What's his name? Stuart Townsend. When Stuart Townsend is singing in the movie, it's Jonathan Davis's voice.
Okay, I never listened to that.
I think he composed all the music for the movie.
Yeah, because one of the songs is Static, Wayne Static. The lead singer Disturbed is one of them. Chester Bennington's one of them. Deftones, and then Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, oh man, just look at this. Like, you got like the 5 original songs. You have Dead Cell, Godhead, Papa Roach, Godhead, Jay Gordon, Disturbed, Static X, Earshot, Dry Cell, Tricky, Kidney Thieves. So like, when this come out, what year? I don't know if it's 2002. So I had just got my car, just had the subs rocking, and like you put that in because I wasn't a big soundtrack guy either. But there was that and the Scorpion King soundtrack that came out around that time. Oh man.
Yeah.
Bangers all day.
So that's my 7th pick. That's my pick is Stuart Townsend as the vampire Lestat, because I need a badass hard rock singer in my vampire group.
Well, Richard, my next pick, I thought you were going to steal it when you were talking about it. But it is also from Queen of the Damned. But I want to go with the Queen, Akasha.
I mean, she's got cool powers and stuff, and she, moves around and looks cool, but she's not in a hard rock band. So
she's not in a hard rock band.
That's what made me edge. That's what edged Lestat out.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. The only the hang up I have is like we've got 2 Lestats who's the same person. And I've never read any of the books, so I'm not sure if any of the books really like tie in together, or if they're more.
I read an Interview with a Vampire. From what I understand, I think I remember. I think I heard I got the gist of the story of Queen of the Damned in the book, and I think I recall in the book, Queen of the Damned, that Louis, who Brad Pitt plays in Interview with a Vampire, like comes to visit him later on, like in the
Yeah, and those books do a good job of like kind of like expanding on that kind of underground vampire world too.
The guy that plays Lestat's master in Queen of the Damned, I can't remember the name, but the guy that plays him, I think that he was filling in for the Louis character from the book.
I gotcha. Yeah, I forgot. Like that's another movie I need to go back and watch because like all of the stuff, kind of like what he was bringing vampirism out to like the public, and all the other vampires were pissed about it.
Yeah,
and the band was kind of like iffy, like they didn't really know like if it was a bit or if he was really a vampire. If I remember right,
I think the band like at first, no, the band didn't know, and then they did know, but then they were just like, oh, well, he's not going to kill us. He just needs people to play instruments. So whatever.
Oh, that's such a good album. But yeah, and the girl, I think she was an R&B singer.
Yeah.
And she passed away like shortly before it released. Right. Like in a plane or helicopter
plane crash. Yeah.
Yeah. But, and yeah, she had some good moves. It was kind of like she's like an old like queen from obviously Queen of the Damned. So, great movie. 2 great characters in it. I'm going to go with the one that probably I was going to pick next anyway, but yeah, I'm going to go with Queen Akasha.
Okay. We are at number 3 for me, yeah? No, 4. All right. So I'm going to take this one before you take it because I know you're gonna. I mean, when we talk about vampires, You got to talk Buffy. And when you talk Buffy, you got to talk about the coolest Buffy vampire there is. Go ahead and type it. Go ahead and say it.
Angel.
No, it's Spike, you idiot.
It is.
It's Spike, because we all know that he was the cooler one.
He was very much more the vampire, like what I think of a vampire. He even goes in like, I feel like the phases a vampire would go in where, you know, he's kill, kill, kill. And then he realizes like, oh man, I feel so bad about it.
But see, he didn't really feel bad about it. He did a bunch of terrible shit, but he didn't really, even once he got a soul, it wasn't that he didn't feel bad, but he kind of made his peace with it. He's I did that stuff and yeah, it was terrible, but
the first evil kind of messed with him a bit, but while he was in the basement of the school, he was pretty tortured by it.
Well, I think he was tortured with the things he was doing or was being asked to do. I don't know if it was necessarily trying to reconcile his entire past.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
It's been a minute because I remember First Evil was a lot of the stuff from his past, and it kind of really haunted him. It felt like he haunted him.
I think Angel said it best. He was like, I spent 200 years trying to come to grips with the terrible things I did. You spent 2 weeks moaning in a basement, and then you were fine.
It's true. But even, when he had his soul and he was back, he was still cool. He's probably the most, because Angel and Angelus are very much two different characters.
Yes.
Spike and Spike the vampire, it's just one's really okay with murder and the other's semi okay with it.
They're much more sidestep adjacent.
Yeah. Man.
It's a lateral move. It was a lateral move going from no soul to soul.
It's one of those you go back and I need to probably read the comics, but there's so many at this point, and I think they've kind of gotten watered down, but
yeah.
I wish they would have kept going a couple more seasons.
I mean,
Angel, maybe they probably could have came back under one umbrella, but
yeah, I agree. I don't know. The directions that they went in the comic, I think that if you tried to do that story on the television, I don't think it would look great.
No, yeah, especially back then. It came very much comic was, they probably did things in the comic that they would have watered down or not tried in the TV show.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that in the comic, they could kind of open the story up a bit more and do a bit more with it. Maybe not have as much, obviously not have as much, character development through dialogue, but I just, in terms of the over arc of everything, would have to be a lot smaller, I think.
Yeah, I'm excited in about 6 years when my son's about 12 or 13, starting to kick those up and watching them.
Yeah, I agree.
I did the original watch through when they came out, and 15 years ago I rewatched all of them again. It's probably the only series I've done that where I've watched it multiple times, and I remember it held up 15 years ago.
Yeah, it still does. I think I've rewatched the series twice, maybe 3 times, the entire series back to back. It still holds up. It's one of the few things that I actually still have the DVD collection.
Nice. I think I borrowed one of your seasons for that. I don't remember which one.
Probably.
All right, so my fourth round pick, this was another movie that I've got good memories of Blade 2 at the movie theater. But this was the original one I saw on TV.
Okay.
And I really wanted to go see Blade 2 in theaters. Got to see Blade 3, but the bad guy from the first Blade was just a really cool antagonist, really big in the comic. Richard, I'm going to go with the one, Deacon Frost.
Deacon Frost. Who's the actor that played him? I can't ever remember his name.
If I see it, I'll know it.
Great performance, though. where he was, I mean, like, he hated Blade, and Blade was a pain in the ass, but he was kind of playing both sides against each other.
Yeah. Steven Dorff was the actor.
Steven Dorff, thank you. Yes, I completely agree. He was, like I said, he was playing both sides against each other, and I felt like he was very believable in his performance.
Yeah, and I love in that too because it was
played it like the very like cool cat kind of, you know.
Yeah, because that was a big like True Blood versus like made vampires. Like if you were born vampire, you were higher up, and Deacon was like not. He was a made vampire,
yes.
And so there's a lot of him trying to prove himself. Like you said, he was playing both sides. Ends up going against the council. So again, another show that really showed like this sub like culture of vampirism. He's the one who actually made Blade, which you find out in there. Spoilers, but again, this came out in like 2000. You know, when
it's on you at this point.
No, that came out in like 98, I think, maybe 99.
What, the original Blade?
Yeah, the movie.
Oh, it came out way before. I think that came out like around like the original Spider-Man.
98.
Okay.
Because Spider-Man came out in like 2000, I think.
Yeah.
2002. Oh, shit. That was right after. Okay. Because then I know in one of the, I thought it was the Spider-Man 2, but there was the whole Twin Tower thing. But that would have been in Spider-Man 1.
Yeah, that's right.
Like when you think of comic book movies too, like Blade is a very comic booky feel. Like it's dark. It's very kind of like it just has like
everybody's like, oh, X-Men showed that you know that comic book movies can make money. I was like, I think that Blade was the movie that showed that comic book characters can make money in the box office.
Yeah, it definitely kind of set the stage for like, oh, these things can do well if you use the story that was written.
Yeah.
Yeah, such a great show. That was one of the first ones where I watched all like the alternative scenes because there's a couple of different ones they did on like the end battles and stuff, and that was really intriguing. But yeah, Deacon Frost, my 4th round pick.
I liked it. I like it. Blade, Marvel character, obviously. Used to run around a lot with Ghost Rider, and also everybody's favorite vampire, Morbius.
Yep. I know. So there's a new movie coming out in 2023 for Blade. There's a new show that should be out, I think, already, or it's out in a week or two, called something werewolf. What was that called? Do you remember? Night of the Werewolf, I think.
Yeah.
Or Werewolf at Night, or Werewolf of the Night.
Something like that.
Comes out on Disney Plus. They said that Blade was supposed to have a cameo in it, but it didn't work out right. But should be interesting.
Sad about it.
Yeah, but you're getting into that whole vampire supernatural stuff in Marvel Universe. I'm ready for it.
That's true.
I want another good Blade movie. Like I said, that was one of my favorite characters.
I was always a fan of Blade as well. All right, Sean, for my next pick, again, there have been gajillion iterations of this character. I felt like I should grab it while the iron's still hot. What Dracula am I picking? That's the question. This one might surprise you, Sean. I'm actually going to go with Gary Oldman's Dracula from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Okay. I was going to go with Dracula Dead and Loving It, but sure, that one works too.
I really liked. So I felt like Bram Stoker's Dracula was probably closer. It's probably the closest adaptation to the book that I've seen. Gary Oldman playing Dracula was just creepy as all fucking get out. Like you could, like, even though like he played Dracula very well in the sense of he played it as a person that was slightly outside of his time, but able to kind of adapt. And then also very much played it like a person that was not seeking redemption and definitely not seeking redemption, but not really seeking vengeance, but more just being, like spiteful towards towards God, not necessarily for making him a vampire, but for, killing his beloved all those many, many years ago.
Does it take place in like the early 1900s?
Yes. Yes, this is the one with, Gary Oldman's Dracula. Keanu Reeves is in that movie as Jonathan Harker.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins.
Winona Ryder is playing Nina Harker. Anthony Hopkins is Van Helsing.
Yeah, this is one I haven't seen.
I would say that one's probably closer to the book than anything that you've probably seen.
Yeah, that one falls in that, there's a range from 91 to 94 of movies that are on my list of I need to see those, but they've been around forever that I just never think about them until somebody's like, you haven't seen this movie, you need to see it.
Right. And then you're like, oh God, now I got to go through 8 streaming services to see who still has it.
Oh God, nobody has it. I have to pay $4.99 to rent it.
This is terrible. What is my life right now?
Spend $160 on streaming service. I still have to spend $5 to rent a movie. Although that one I'm sure has got to be somewhere, right?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm gonna guess HBO Max. If I was to venture a guess, I'm gonna say HBO Max. So I he played it very creepy. Very, very, but then once he gets to London, he plays very cool. He's got these little, with the top hat and the little round glasses, but he still kind of plays it like the devil incarnate in a way.
Yeah. It's only renting on everything except you can watch it with ads on Yup TV, which I have no clue what that is.
I have no clue what that is either, Sean. I wouldn't do it. I think it's a trap.
Yeah, it comes with ads and viruses.
Yeah, don't do it.
Well, there goes $4.
It's porn. That's what you just looked up. You're like, oh, I'm going to watch porn.
It's not Bram Stoker's Dracula.
This isn't the Bram Stoker's Dracula. Oh, damn it.
What are you doing, stepsis? Oh, and it's a new one.
They're not related in the book. Hey.
All right, for my 5th round pick, Richard, I don't know if you watch much of this show. And a lot of HBO shows, it started out seasons 1 through maybe 3 or 4 were really, really good. Then it fell off. But this character stayed strong throughout. And I'm going to go with Richard, Eric Northman from the TV series True Blood.
I was thinking about True Blood and I was like, man, is there a vampire in there that I would probably pick out of that bunch? And out of that entire show, I think that you chose wisely because that is probably the only, I don't want to say he's the only believable vampire, but I feel like he's the only vampire that starts in one place and ends in another place. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy it. He's an old, he's from Norse, time frame.
Yeah.
Northman,
by the end of True Blood, the guy that plays Bill, he's running some fucking operation and
yeah, he kind of goes all over the place. The last 2 or 3 seasons of that get really, really bad.
Yeah, and it's not great. But out of that whole thing, it seemed like Eric Northman stayed, not consistent, but he stayed with a believable character arc.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think that's a show that when they introduced werewolves in season 2, I think you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. Werewolves are in this world too. And then they're like, well, people like that. Let's introduce fairies. And it's fairies are in this world. Now there's other it just went way, way out there.
Well, okay, so earlier we were talking about the tabletop Vampire the Masquerade. They kind of did the same thing because it started with vampire, and then they came out with one for werewolves. They had there was Vampire the Masquerade, then there was Werewolf the Apocalypse, and then they just went all over the place. They were like, okay, now we're going to have a game where everybody is mages. And you're like, okay, I guess. Like, all right, now we're gonna have a game where everybody's wraiths. And you're like, seems a bit odd, but all right. And then they had fairies. And everybody's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Are you doing True Blood? Are you True Blooding right now?
You're True Blooding all over my checkbook.
I think True Blood came after, but
yeah. But like the first couple seasons with him, and like his character was always the strongest. And again, like you said, like most believable old style vampire, like he, was around for hundreds of years, like accumulated a wealth. My favorite scene is one of the guys he ends up getting a car for, and he said something along the lines of like, well, because of Louisiana tax laws, I can't give this to you as a gift because I'll have to pay taxes on it. So I need you to pay me $1 for it. And I was like, if you're a vampire that's lived for hundreds of years, you're going to realize like how to like not give the government more money.
That's right.
But yeah,
so you're saying that as all vampires get older, they just all become tax attorneys?
Probably. I mean, you think about when you get to a certain age, you're like, oh, I wish I knew that years ago. And they just have
so
all
by the
that
transitive
knowledge.
property, all tax attorneys are vampires.
True. But all lawyers are vampires too. Because they'll suck you dry.
Think about that. About that.
That's why I never invite them in my house. It's actually a true state, Richard. If somebody comes to my house at night, I don't invite them in, just in case.
I know. That's why I had to sleep outside.
Yeah. They're like, no, I swear I'm not a vampire. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever, bud. I'll see you in the morning.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't. I'll melt in the sun. Damn it. I'm like, yeah, got you, didn't I?
All right, you got me.
Wait, did you put garlic in the ground? Oh, it burns. I mean, it's not going to hurt me. It just burns. Wait, did you turn is that holy water in the sprinkles? Oh, man. Again, not going to kill me. Shawn, it just stings.
For my next pick, this one I know also isn't on your list. This vampire actually comes from Dungeons and Dragons. He is the Lord of Barovia. He is probably the Dracula equivalent in the D&D world. Shawn, for my next pick, I'm going with Count Strad von Zarovich.
Is this the one?
This is the vampire that this is the big bad evil guy that spawned the entire world of Ravenloft. Like the adventure, the expedition to Castle Ravenloft is a second edition AD&D adventure where it was actually one of the first adventures where, not one of the first, but definitely it was an adventure where the party stand a very good chance of completely dying multiple times.
So I know. So have you watched this season of Stranger Things?
Yes.
So the big bad in that is this the vampire that was teamed up with him in the D&D world that he went against?
No, you're thinking of Vecna. Vecna was a lich.
Right. No, but isn't there a vampire with Vecna?
Oh no, that's Aslan. Aslan was the lich in Ravenloft. And Aslan and Strad did not like each other. No, Strad was. Too?
So I know there's like rumors that Cass may come into Stranger Things. Is Cass one too that went against Vecna?
Yes, Cass was also a vampire.
But no, yours is okay. So this isn't the same one then. But I know you guys had talked a ton about Ravenloft, and it sounded like a super fun campaign to play. And we'd always talked about like we'd get like level 3 or 4 where we were getting close to getting into Ravenloft because you had to be at a certain level before you went there because otherwise you would just die.
Well, I mean, it was there's a very good chance of you dying in Ravenloft. But so yeah, think of Barovia as Transylvania. I mean, it's essentially it's D&D's version of Dracula. Is probably the best way I can explain it. But Strad, he plays off being, the humble leader of the small country of Barovia, but in actuality, he is a vampire that can turn into a giant bat, a giant wolf, has command. He's able to command the mists of Ravenloft. It's. I've played through the adventure expedition to Castle Ravenloft. I have ran the adventure for other people, and Strahd is definitely a villain that stands a very good chance of completely killing an entire party.
So, in spoilers, whenever you went up against him, did you beat him? And second question, did your PCs beat him?
The PCs did beat him. However, he turned to mist and escaped. He was reduced to 0 hit points, but he escaped because he turned to mist and escaped. Big bads do. When I was playing the game, we all died one by one. Not one by one. I think at the end there was like 3 of us left, but we all died very terribly.
Retreat is an option, Richard.
I don't understand anything you're saying right now, but I think that's what made me so interested in the adventure, because I was like, I think that was the first time that like everybody died, and I was like, holy shit, this can happen.
Yeah. That's like we've talked
like,
about.
Now what do we do? Everybody died. Like, so the bad guys won.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit.
We talk about that with our group. Some like we've never had them in a situation where like there's been a couple where like legit they get close, but like it almost feels like if they do die, like it's almost like an offensive thing that just happened.
Yes.
Which is fine. But I think going into a campaign like, hey, listen, things are beefed up. You could die, so just be prepared would be a really like fun way to do it.
I completely agree.
But you'd have to make it like where like illegit, because like with our group, it's oh, there's a bad guy. All right, we go in, we shoot. Okay, done. All right, words. Oh, loot. Okay, we got the loot. All right. Words. Hey, can you tell me why I got to kill stuff? That's all I really care about, and then getting loot.
Yep.
Which is fine. It's fun still, but
everybody's got their style. But no, I agree. It would be interesting to actually run an encounter where I'm like, okay, you're dead. Like, tell me what you're gonna do in the last 6 seconds of your life.
Yeah.
And then start rolling up another character, because you're dead.
I've got this. Nope. You're just dead. You died.
No, you're dead. You died. It's over.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can drink that healing potion, and then guess what? Count Strahd stabs you in the heart.
Yeah, and then rips your throat out with his bare goddamn hand.
Yeah. How many hit points did you get back? 12. Yeah. Well, he just did 36. Sorry. All right, for my 6th round pick, Richard, I don't know if this would be on your list. I have seen both versions of this movie. Both versions are really, really good. Trying to remember who's in the American version, because I think it's a pretty big actress.
Oh, I think I know which one you're talking about.
So the one I'm looking at's a Russian version. Wait, shit, are they remaking this? Oh,
I think they might be. I think they might be doing another version of it. Are we talking about Let the Right One In?
Yeah, so Let the Right One In is the Swedish version. Let Me In is the American version. And in that one is Chloe Chloe Grace something or another. Like, she's in a bunch of things now.
Yeah.
But so it's Ellie from Let Me In or Let the Right One In. I'm going to have to watch that trailer after this. I didn't realize they were making it. But it was, so like when you see this movie, it's, it's a little girl and it's like an older guy who's like, is their dad figure or who is this? And what I love about this movie, especially this character, is it shows that Ellie is a vampire that you're like, oh, it's a kid, but she's been a vampire for what I think you can assume to be 50, 100 years. Like, she's been a vampire for a while, because this is slowly seeing almost like Stockholm syndrome, where the guy that's her dad, in quotes, is going out taking care of her. But there's a scene that's super powerful because like you hear like this like violent screaming in the other room, and the kid thinks it's the dad, like, you know, being abusive to his daughter because he doesn't know she's a vampire yet. But it was actually Ellie the vampire being a dick to the guy. And like the whole movie kind of wraps around like, you know, he dies and she needs to find basically a new, like, I don't know what you call it. I don't know if you'd say slave or like follower or what. But she essentially talks this boy or tricks this boy into going with her then at the end to restart this whole cycle. So like the guy that she had with her, like obviously was a kid probably at some point that she drug along for years. And you just like, you think about this whole thing, like, well, how many times has she done this? You know, and like, it just like, it's the fake innocence kind of thing. Like you see a kid and you're like, well, like what danger is that? But it's like this, you know, murderous vampire and just builds all. It's like the scene from Dawn of the Dead when it was like, oh my God, there's a kid in the hallway. Oh my God, help the kid. And the kid bites your throat because it's actually a zombie.
Yep.
Definitely.
The very beginning of the Day of the Dead remake.
And there's like, it's, you know, with that whole let me in and let the right one in, there's just this kind of like when you think of vampire romanticism, like it's kind of that, right? Like it's almost a what's it called where you have like a leech on you? What's that relationship called?
Parasite.
Parasite. Yeah,
parasitic,
it's like
a parasitic relationship.
Yeah. It's definitely kind of that parasitic relationship where you know, she's kind of got this attachment to them, but it feels more like they're attached to her and like taking advantage. And like you go into all kinds of like social, like abusive relationships and like, you know, mental abuse, and it's all right there, but it's in a vampire movie. And again, just loved it to death. And again, I'm actually really excited that Showtime's going to be doing that as a series. That'll be really interesting. But yep, my 6th round pick, I'm going to go with Ellie from Let the Right One In / Let Me In.
All right, Shawn, for my last pick, I'm also going to go with something that I know that isn't on your list, so that way you have free reign on your 7th round pick. You can breathe a sigh of relief because I know this isn't on your list.
Okay.
So whatever your 7th round pick is, you're safe. So this vampire is born out of two things. One is kind of a series of video games that he was in. However, also, we've mentioned it a couple times. We've mentioned the Vampire the Masquerade tabletop game has a vampire that shares the same name. Although I doubt they're not the same one. Shawn, for my 7th round pick, I am going with the vampire known as Cain.
Okay.
So there's a series of games called Legacy of Cain. The very first game you play as a vampire named Cain, and you're trying to kind of either restore the world back to a nice green verdant place, or create a hellscape upon which you rule humans like chattel. However, in the Vampire the Masquerade tabletop RPG, Cain is the first vampire. And yes, in the Vampire the Masquerade tabletop RPG, Cain is the biblical Cain. We're talking about biblical Cain.
Cool. Yeah. Not the wrestler Cain. By God, right. It's gotta be Cain.
So in the vampire, the vampire lore, in Vampire the Masquerade, the lore is that Cain killed Abel. God cursed Cain. Cain was exiled from Eden, wandered the land of Nod. He was visited by angels that told him that if he would repent, that he would be fine, and he refused. And so then the angels cursed him with all the fun curses that vampires have. That he'll never die, that he has to drink blood, and all that stuff. While he's in exile in the land of Nod, he meets Lilith, who in the biblical story, Lilith is Adam's first wife, who was also exiled to the land outside of Eden for being defiant. And so then Lilith teaches Cain how to use all the different powers, supernatural powers that vampires have. And so then, armed with this curse and these powers, he then creates 3 vampires, and then those vampires create 13, and so on and so on. But it all stems from the original vampire, Cain, who I was fascinated with. Like, I still have books on like the whole lore behind Cain and like basically like some of the stuff he did. Whether he's still around or not, is a mystery. But then I felt I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Legacy of Kain video game, because it was a really good game for the original PlayStation. Cool.
Yeah, I know there's like other like religious lore around vampires. Like I don't remember what movie it was, but the guy who pierced Jesus's lungs when he was crucified. There's some lore out there that he was the first vampire.
Yeah, there was a Dracula movie where like they were like, oh, Dracula's actually Judas Iscariot.
Okay. Well, yeah, and that wasn't Judas who stabbed him, but
that's why vampires hate silver.
Yeah, and crosses, I'd assume.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my
Richard,
7th round pick is the vampire Cain.
I like it. My 7th round money pick, Richard. We don't have a lot of humor in this, so I figured I got to go with one of my favorite vampires from. This is probably one of the first movies. Lost Boys was the first one. It's probably the second movie I ever saw. It's Buffy the movie, and I want to go with Pee Wee Herman's Emilian. Paul
Fantastic.
Rubin
That would have been my 7th. I was thinking that too.
Oh, loses his arm, gets it back, fights with Perry, Luke Perry. It's like one of the first movies that had like an after credit scene I remember too, because in it, Paul Rubin gets stabbed. And for like 10 minutes, he goes on.
It's like having a death scene. It's fantastic.
Starts kicking the wall. Ow! Ow! And that was the one, like, after all the credits roll, it goes back to him, and he's still sitting there going, ah!
Yeah. Oh, so good.
Yeah. And that was like
100%. This. Mm-hmm.
And at that age too, I'm like, like watching Pee Wee Herman, and you see him in this, environment, and you're like, I know that guy. So it made it less scary too. But yeah, great. That's actually a pretty good like vampire movie too. I don't think it's a lot of nods that it probably should, but
no, I agree. I agree with you.
But yeah, my 7th round money shot pick, Paul Rubin from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That is a good one.
Well, do you have any?
I think if you were going to pick a 7, that would be that's a good 7.
So what do you have for some and buts?
I had Blade, but Blade's technically not.
That's kind of why I left him off.
I actually did have Morbius because I read the comic and I like the comic. I know the movie gets a lot of flack, and I will agree the movie's not that great. But I did have Morbius, the living vampire, on my list. You mentioned Selma Hayek and Dusk Till Dawn. What'd you have? What did you have on your list? Count Orloff from Shadow of the Vampire. I really liked. That was a movie about it was a movie about the guys that made the movie Nosferatu, where the guy that played Count Orloff was actually a vampire and no one else knew it except the director.
Yeah, I kind of want to watch that movie, except that's not a comedy, right?
No, not really. No.
The one I had on my list was Marlowe from 30 Days a Night. So the lead vampire from that. Like, that's like, oof. Like, that's a gruesome, like, dark vampire movie that I need to go back and watch again. I think did you and I go see that in theaters together?
Oh, I don't know if we saw it together.
Okay. I feel like we did, but maybe not.
Yeah, I don't think we did. Maybe we did. I don't think we did, though.
Okay. But let me run through the picks. So Richard's first pick was a steal, David from Lost Boys. Second round pick, Alucard, Dracula's son. Third round pick, Lestat, that's a steal from Queen of the Damned. Fourth round pick, Spike, another steal. Fifth round pick, Dracula. Sixth round pick, Count Strahd from D&D. And seventh round money shot pick, Kane, Legacy of Kane. For me, first round pick, Salma Hayek, Santanico Pandemonium from Dusk Till Dawn. I had Selena from Underworld, Queen Akasha from Queen of the Damned, Deacon Frost from Blade, Eric Northman from True Blood, Ellie from Let the Right One In, and my seventh round money shot pick, Mr. Paul Rubin from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I like your list.
I like both these lists. These are good. This was a good one.
Yeah, I like. There's not a lot of time. There's times where I'm like, there's stuff I wouldn't pick that's on your list, but I can say that every single pick you had is probably something that I would have also probably picked.
Nice. Well, Richard, as we're closing it out, what do you have for some Richards? The sun's coming up. We're about to burst into flames, so give me some Richards closing thoughts.
Don't invite a vampire into your house. It renders you powerless.
Yep.
There's one thing about Santa Monica I can't stand.
Oh, the damn vampires.
What was it? No, it wasn't Santa Monica. Santa Clara. Beer always tastes good when it's being poured down a foot, and especially Salma Hayek's foot. And don't piss off your kids, because then they might grow up and try to destroy you one day.
All good advice.
Yep.
All right. Well, let me do a little bit of housekeeping to tidy up this draft. This is our website. We're languagebros.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languagebro. Email us at bros@languagebros.com. And even if they were vampires, we would invite them in. It's our patrons, Wendy and Aaron.
I mean, Shawn, I would, but Shawn probably wouldn't.
No,
he didn't invite me in.
Yep.
So you're sleeping on Shawn's porch. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it's a nice porch, though. I mean, it's covered. There's cats that'll hang out with you. Yeah, it'll be fine.
You don't have to worry about the sun. You get shade.
You know, I've got an open shed, too. I don't know if vampires can technically go in that or not. Be a good test.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to be there with you for the test, but...
Yeah. But, all right. Well, is there anything else before I close her out?
No, I'm good, sir.
All right. Well, that's all the Bromance have for this show. I'm Shawn.
No, I'm Richard.
And remember, don't be a why.
Be a why not.
How do the maggots taste, Richard?
What?
Maggots.
You're eating maggots,
You're
Richard.
eating maggots,
You're eating
Richard.
maggots. How do they taste?
Stop it, David.